When we're reading along in Scripture, and it become kind of easy to just let the words roll past, and you read that God is powerful or God is almighty, and I'm just like, yep, I know that. But then when I look out at the natural world, and especially in my field of astronomy, looking at the incredible power I see in the universe, it really makes me take a step back and go, oh, I have domesticated God. Sometimes we talk about the big questions, and to me that means, is there a God? If there is a God, what is God like? Can we know God? Or where did humans come from, and what is our purpose? What is our meaning and destiny? Why are we here? How should we approach one another? What's the point of our lives? Humans throughout time have asked these big questions, and they're part of how we come up with our religions and philosophies and worldviews. Even today's worldviews that are atheistic are still answering those questions in some way. Science doesn't answer those kinds of questions. I can't do a calculation to measure what meaning and purpose is. So this is where science has its limits. This is one way in which science is limited. That's where we can turn to our faith for those kinds of questions, to explore them and to learn some of the answers. Science and faith approach truth in different ways. So in science, we don't even use the word truth, really. In science, we consider something to be reliable or established if it has a lot of evidence to support it, and if the physical arguments make sense, and if it's been verified by many scientists. Then we say, well, that's a reliable scientific finding. We might in the future get more data that show, oh, we didn't have it quite right, and we need to modify and improve it. But then in our faith, we also learn different kinds of truth and meaning and purpose. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. God is truth. In him, there is no falsehood at all. So other kinds of truth that we're seeking, we find most truly by knowing God and by looking to the person of Jesus Christ. So in Scripture, we clearly read that God created humankind. This is completely profound, that we are created beings. We didn't just appear on our own or just from our parents, but there's a creator out there, and that has huge implications for how we live our lives. So we don't learn that from science. From science, we learn the how and the what. So Scripture is really good about the who and the why of where we come from and what our purpose is. But how did our bodies arise? Well, Genesis and Scripture were all written in the ancient Near East to ancient cultures who didn't understand all the modern science that we have today. They didn't even know that the earth was round. They thought the earth was flat. They certainly didn't know about biology and species and how species develop over time. Now we have abundant evidence for that. We've discovered fossils, can analyze genetics, and all that evidence is pointed to the fact that humans are very closely tied to other species on Earth. God created us through processes we can understand scientifically, but we have this tie to other species, and in fact, we're very similar to species like chimpanzees and the great apes. So that has led some people to say, oh, well, humans are nothing more than animals. That's all we are. Now, okay, we have to back up a second, though. Science isn't about meaning and purpose. Science can say we are very similar to animals, but science can't say we're nothing but animals. And if you hear people saying nothing but, that's a really good time to sit back and think again, because they're leaving a lot out. What I read in Scripture is that God created us for a purpose, to love him back and to love our neighbors and to serve him and to bear his image.